Hello everyone and welcome to the proportions and outlines section of the realistic drawing guide. To start off, let's take a look at a few methods on how to actually start outlining the drawing and getting the proportions down correctly. So first of all, we need something to draw, and for the purpose of this video and for no apparent reason, let's use this image of Will Smith. This is probably something I should talk about first, which is the reference. You want to get a copy of what it is you are drawing. It could be a digital copy, so you have your image on screen in front of you, or you could print it out like I have done here. I actually recommend having a printout of something you are drawing. It's easier if you are a beginner, and also it's useful for one of the methods which we will be using later, called the grid method. So get your reference image printed out. Another piece of advice that might make it easier for you is if you convert the image into grayscale if it isn't already. This will make it easier for you to create it in pencil later as well. So that's how I'm going to approach this drawing in this video. With a style such as realistic drawing, it does help for your reference image to be of high quality, so you can carry that detail across into the drawing. One thing with drawing like this is it's basically recreating the image as realistic as possible, and it's a form of working that requires a lot of attention to detail. So we have this image here next to our piece of paper. This is Bristol board that I am drawing on. Now we have a few ways we could go about starting this drawing. The first one is going in freehand and judging the proportions by sketching them in. If you do that, it might be a little off, and it can sometimes take away the whole idea of it looking realistic. If you do a lot of freehand drawing, you will naturally become better at it and be able to sketch things in more accurately. I sometimes go about starting a drawing like that, but for the purpose of this guide, what I want us to use is the grid method. And the grid method is where we draw a grid onto the reference image using a ruler, and then we replicate the same grid onto our piece of paper here. So get the ruler and you just draw a grid as big or as small as you want. Usually I go for an inch by inch square, but make sure you draw it really lightly. Use a 4H pencil or something that won't stand out too much, but so you can still see it. I always start by drawing the grid on the reference first, line it up the exact same on the drawing, and then just replicate it across. So I'm going to go ahead and let this play out, and then we can take a look at it once it's finished. So at the end we should have two identical grids, one on the reference and one on the drawing. Some people don't like using a grid. I don't use it often, but for the purpose of this drawing guide I think it's a really useful tool, and you should always make the most out of every method you have. So here we go, this is what we will be using to help outline our drawing. Now I'm going to go ahead and start outlining Will Smith's face here, and you can see that I'm always using the grid to help me work out where my lines go. You want to almost treat each section of this grid as its own area and draw the outlines a section at a time. Here I'm firstly outlining his head, and then once we have that down I'll start outlining the facial features. We have a big shadow down the side of his face and under the neck, so I'll just roughly mark that out on the paper as well. Okay, so there we go, we have an outlined drawing here, and you can go ahead and erase the grid lines now, but I usually keep them. When we start adding in some pencil work, it usually covers the grid lines anyways, but that pretty much covers the outlines and proportions section of this guide. Making use of an easy method like the grid is a great way to plan out your drawings accurately. But with all that being said, I hope this was useful, and in the next section of this guide we will be adding more pencil work into the drawing and most likely starting to focus on the light, shadow and tones. So as always, thank you for watching, and of course I'll see you in the next one.